Yep. Good evening, everyone. So, last session we learned how we can use the Redux state and all. Now, one more concept we will see here. After understanding React Native, what is React Native, why it is used, and just I given an introduction about that. Today we will see another concept, that is how to use Webpack. How we can use this Webpack. Actually, what is the concept of Webpack is generally Webpack is a bundler. It is a bundler. So we call it as technically bundler. Bundler. So there are so many bundlers like Webpack. You also have like Parcel. Parcel is also a bundler similar to Webpack. What is the concept of bundler is nothing but in general web development, you have a concept called bundling and minification. Bundling and minification is a general concept in web development. And what is bundler is nothing but bundling is the process of binding all resource files. You can say bundle all resource files. Bundle all resource files and configure a mapping. You can configure a mapping for application. Bundle all resource files and configure a mapping for application. What does that means is, suppose you are designing a web application. In that you need a lot of images, documents, CSS files, script files. Generally, when you have to use different types of files, you have to link them to the pages. You want to use a CSS file in an index page, then you have to link it. You have to use a JavaScript file in a HTML page, you have to link it. Now what bundlers can do is, they allow you to create a configuration. Through that configuration, without linking a file, you can make the files work for that particular page. That is what mapping is. That is the reason you will see in React and Angular or other high level projects, you will never see people linking the files to HTML pages. So already they have a configuration. That configuration will set up the files in such a way that they will be working in the background without need to link them to the pages. This can be done even for general ordinary web application also. Suppose you are designing some HTML app. It is just a HTML application. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you are developing an application. And you want to use Bootstrap, CSS, JavaScript in that project. Then you don't need to link the files to your pages. You can develop by using Webpack. Or you can develop by using parcel-like concepts. So that parcel is also a bundler. Actually, Webpack is very famous. This is Webpack. So this is Webpack. We call it as bundler. It is used for bundling your scripts, bundling your CSS, bundling your images and all. It requires a lot of configuration settings. You cannot remember these settings. You need to go to the official site, pick up the settings that you want, paste them, and customize according to your requirements. These are not the settings common for everybody. They will be changing according to the requirements. So here, this is one bundler. Another one is lot of such tools are there. Like we have a parcel. So we have a parcel.js.org. This is parcel. This is also used for bundling. For JavaScript applications, we use this bundle. So this is used for bundling your files and linking them and using them. You can use for React also. But React is inbuilt using Webpack. It is inbuilt using Webpack. You can use any bundling tool you want. If you are building from scratch, and every tool have different performances, different settings. They are not same. And those settings, you have to copy them and use them in your project, customize according to your requirements. I will show you that what we need. So now what is advantage? It will make your pages perform more better, perform more faster. So it will reduce the size, it will reduce the load time, it will improve the performance of your application. Without bundlers also we can do. If you remembered in the beginning of React, I showed you in how many ways we can add React to our website. I showed you CDN links. I showed you downloading the library offline and linking them and using them. I showed you how to use React in an existing project. These all basic things I already explained in the beginning. This is what bundlers can do. Okay, let's see how. That means we are not building a ready-made template. Already previously what we were doing, we were using npx create React tab. What that npx is going to use, it is going to use a Webpack. By using Webpack, it is going to create a project. In that project, all the configuration are set for you. If anybody asks like, I want to run React project, currently React project is running on 3000 port number. I want to run on 8080, some different port. Because already in 3000, some other project is running, some other application is running. You cannot simply say that React will use only 3000 port number. You can change. That depends on how you configure, which server to use, which port number to use, from where resources to use. Everything you can do by using Webpack. So we are going to learn this concept. But remember, this is not like you can remember and implement. Lot of settings are there. We need to visit the website, copy them, customize changes according to our requirements, and we need to do, right? Initially, here I will show you how to create a application. First step, what we have to do is, first step one is you have to create a new folder for your React application. To create a React application, first create a folder. And you know what to do actually. If you remembered, I showed you in the first session how to create a empty web application, add React into that application, a small process I showed you in the beginning, right? Suppose I'm creating here some application like, yeah, I will create a new folder and I'll say React Webpack app. Like this, I'm giving React Webpack app. I'm just giving that folder. Let's open that folder in Visual Studio Code. This is the folder for React application. open in VS Code, and you have to run the following command in terminal. What is the command you have to run? I think you remembered I told you this also, npm init y. Do you know why? What this command will do? It is going to add a package JSON. Why you need a package JSON? What is the purpose of package JSON? This is going to add, so this will add package.json. What is the purpose? What is the purpose of this package JSON? So in simple terms, you can say it comprises of metadata. Project metadata. Project metadata means which version you are using, what libraries you are using, which version libraries you are using in that particular project. All the information about your project is kept in this file. All the libraries, their versions, everything is present in this file. So what you have to do, first step, you go to the project. Yes. So here you need to go to the Visual Studio Code. In Visual Studio Code, you need to open the folder, and the folder is in E drive. It is React Webpack app. That is the folder. And in this folder, so I will add a new, just open the terminal. And here we have to run the command npm init y. This is going to generate a package JSON file. A package JSON file will be created for you. Now, next important, as per the project standards, you know what are the folders required. What are the folders required as per the project standards? Next point, add the following folders into project. What are the folders you need? One, you need a public, another one, you need an SRC. Traditionally, you need these two. What public contains? It contains all static resources. Static resources like images, like text documents, like HTML, all these are present here. And you need another one, SRC. It contains what? Dynamic resources. Dynamic resources like CSS files, JavaScript files, TS files, right? SAS files. All these are kept in this SRC. You need two folders here. Let's go and add one folder. This is public, and add another folder, that is SRC. These are the two folders required. Now, usually public contains index HTML, SRC contains index JS. We will keep them. That means usually what are the files required? That means add following files into project. So one file, what are the basic files you need? One is in public, you need index.html because startup page is index. Another in SRC, you need index.js. That is the JavaScript file you need for startup. So let's go here in public, I am adding index.html. And here we will put a rough HTML code first. That is the HTML code. I will just keep the title as some React. So Webpack. Okay. And in the body section, we need to keep a container where all the content is rendered. All components are rendered in a container. That we will do later. First, we will keep that file and another file in src index.js. These are the files we created. Just keep them empty. Okay, these are the files you need. Now, for a React application, tell me what are the libraries I need to install. For a React application, what are the libraries I need to install? Tell me the libraries I need to install. What are the libraries we need? First one is, you remembered in the beginning, I told you some libraries. One is you need React. React is core library. Another one is React DOM. For which purpose? Basic libraries. Means basic libraries that are required for a React application. Router and all for routing and all, right? For basic initial application, what are the requirements? Mandatory things. React is compulsory because it is core library. React DOM is compulsory because it is virtual DOM library. To control virtual DOM, we need React DOM. You remembered we need a compiler, Babel. Am I right? Babel have so many things. Babel have preset environment. So Babel have standalone. Remember Babel standalone, Babel's preset environment. Babel for which purpose? What is Babel? Why you need Babel? Why you need Babel? Babel is a compiler. Am I right? What is the compiler used by React? React uses a JavaScript compiler called Babel. By using Babel, it will do that. Actually, what is the compiler that TypeScript uses? For JavaScript, Babel. For TypeScript, I showed a TypeScript architecture. Right, for TypeScript, we need TSC, TypeScript standalone compiler. TypeScript requires a TypeScript compiler, TSC, that is called as TypeScript standalone compiler. Currently, we need React, React DOM, Babel. What else? Actually, now you need, these are basic things now. You know that these are basic things. But now you need extra, you need a Webpack library. You need HTML library, HTML Webpack plugin you need. Why? Because Webpack cannot use HTML documents directly. To use HTML documents, it needs a HTML Webpack plugin. We need Webpack libraries. We need HTML Webpack plugins. We need Babel libraries. In Babel, so many libraries are required. We need React DOM and we need React. Not only that, actually, you need a development server also. You need to install development server. How do you think React applications will run? Any web application have to run using a server. And do you know how to create servers? That is not your part actually. Generally, server is created by using Node. Node.js actually allows to create a server, create server. So, and not only that, actually Node.js provides a path library, which is used for mapping files, which file to pick up, where to link. All these are managed by a Node.js library called path. Actually, in Node.js, server is created. So you cannot run any application without server. To run application with the server, you can't create server with general web knowledge. You have to learn server side technologies. By using server side technologies, we create servers. We launch the applications on servers. To create servers, we need separate library. Node.js will create a server and it will run your application on that server. For that, Node.js requires a path library also. So many libraries are required for a project. These all libraries are not available here. We have to install all of them. These all libraries you need to install. Actually, this is the list of libraries. These are all the list of libraries to install. You need to install all of them. These are the libraries you need to set up. You need to install Webpack library. I told you that working with HTML pages requires Webpack HTML plugin. You need development server. Webpack provides a development server you have to install. You need compiler. Compiler is Babel core preset environment, Babel loader. You need React and React DOM, and you need Babel preset React. This is specially for React applications. These are all Babel is compiler. In official Babel website, you will get it. In the beginning, I showed you already. In the introduction of React, I showed you how to get the library for Babel. I showed you CDN links and I showed you installation process, right? These are all libraries required. We have to set up and install all of this. Let's do this, right? That means now what we have to do, first step, we need to configure this. We will install. Let's open the terminal and we are installing. First, we will install this one, Webpack and Webpack CLI. Webpack library is required to configure the bundling. Bundles are configured by using Webpack. Okay. And the save for development environment. Dev means for development environment. That means actually when you install a library and you use dev flag, then it will install development related files. What are production related files? Generally, sometimes library install production related files. I hope you know already, I told you. In the introduction of React, I told you React have development library, production library. Development library is .js and production library is min.js. Remember that? Minified files are used for production. So we don't want minified files. We want only development files. That's the reason dev is the flag. Okay, now we need to install Webpack. So we are installing Webpack library. After installing the Webpack library, now you know that everything will be added into node modules. Then you need to install HTML Webpack plugin. This is used to handle HTML applications using Webpack. That means you need to handle HTML applications. Okay. Next, you need development server. I will install this development server. Webpack development server is required to configure your applications to run on local server. How to run on a cloud server also I will show you. In the next point, we will see that. That means we can deploy our application on cloud. Okay, this is Webpack development server. Next, you need to define Babel library. Babel is a compiler library. These are all the Babel libraries required. Babel core, Babel environment, and Babel loader. Babel core, Babel environment, and loader. These are the files which are required for compiling and loading the compiled files. So these are required. Okay. And this is for general React. For React, we need React DOM library. npm install React and React DOM libraries. One more you need, that is Babel preset environment for React. These are all the libraries you need to install. So these are the libraries ready for our project. So this is an empty project and everything is defined. What are the libraries installed? You can get information from package.json. In the package.json, it will give you all the details. That means it will show you all the information about the libraries. You need Babel core, Babel preset environment, Babel preset for React, Babel loader, HTML Webpack plugin, Webpack CLI, and development server. And we need React and React DOM, which are the latest versions of React. Okay. Now, next step, what? After you set up this, now you need configuration. That means now you need to set the configuration file. You need to set the configuration file. Oh, some problem. Yeah. You need the configuration. Let me copy all this. These are all the libraries. So step 2. Step 2 is download and install all libraries required for React application. React application. So these are the libraries. Additional libraries depending on what are the project you are building. You want Axios, you want Formic, you want routers. That depends on your requirements, what you want to use. Okay. After installing all these libraries, now you need to create step 3. So you have to create. Webpack configuration file. You have to create Webpack configuration file. What settings in that file goes that you have to visit from that site? Because different bundling tools, different settings will be there. Parcel, some companies use Parcel as a bundler. They don't use Webpack. Then you have to install Parcel library and you have to use it. That means application is React, but it's not necessary that everybody have to use same Webpack as a bundler. They can use Parcel as a bundler also. Then you have to install Parcel related all tools and visit this website now. This is Webpack configuration. This is webpackjs.org. I will give you the official website here. And from here, you can get the configuration settings. You go to documentation. In the documentation, you will see here all the configuration. You will find a simple option called configuration. So you will find the configuration and you go to the configuration. This is actually the configuration related details. These are the configuration related details. It is saying that you need to create a file webpack.config.js. This is not complete. It is just an introduction file. Lot of settings we have to add depending on your technology. Remember, this is used by even Angular or general Java, .NET, PHP, Python like technologies also. They can use even ordinary web application. For example, you see Bootstrap is there. This is Bootstrap. How to use Bootstrap in our project in any page? You saw that you have to install Bootstrap library and use it. But see what they do. In the documents you can see, so they say that you can use Bootstrap. So get started with Bootstrap. You can see they say that you can use by using, where is it? In the contents, Webpack is there. You see Webpack, Parcel, White. You see Webpack. I will go to Webpack, then they will give you Bootstrap and Webpack. And in Bootstrap and Webpack, they will show you how to bundle your files. That means they will give you the project structure and they will give you how to set up the configuration. How to set up the configuration. Actually, Path is a Node.js module. By using this module, you can access the files and use them. And you can see module exports, entry. Entry means it will start with which folder? SRC folder. In that, our file will be main.js. Output file will be entry and output files you have to mention. Actually, dist is a folder which is used for production. But if you are developing, then the folder name will be, actually it will be build. If you are developing, the folder name will be build. If you are publishing, the folder name will be dist. You see Bootstrap files all they keep in dist folder. Not only Bootstrap, several libraries have a dist folder. Dist folder means production ready. That means it is ready to use. It is not for development, it is for production. So you have to change the folders. You have to tell your startup file. See the development server. Development server, which port number it is using? 8080. Our React application is using 3000. You can change the port number here. We have to configure the settings and we have to change the port number, where to run. For that, we have to import the libraries. Remember, this is Webpack. What is advantage of configuring? You see, lot of concepts are there. You see, you need to configure the rules also. Rules means what type of files, what compiler to load. This is lengthy process. And different technology, different process. You need to cross check. Go to your React JS official website. Go to your Webpack official website. Check which library React is recommending. Check where to configure in Webpack. This is a lengthy process. It's not like somebody remembers all these and writes. That's never happens. Even if you do so, you will go wrong in various situations. That means you can't remember because it changes according to which technology, according to which situation you are using. You have to get information from this. This is related to Webpack. This is related to Webpack. You see, there is another Parcel, White. I go to Parcel. This is Parcel. Yeah, this is Parcel. You see, this is Parcel. In Parcel, settings will change. In Parcel, the configuration settings will be different. The configuration settings will be different. The configuration files will be different. So now we will use Webpack configuration settings. So what is the file you need to add into your project? You need to add Webpack config.js. Okay, let's go to our project. And in the main folder, you have to add a new file, webpackconfig.js. That is the file. Now in this file, lot of settings you have to define. Remember, there will be another file for Babel compiler. There will be another file. Babel RC file will be there, right? This is Webpack configuration. If you want to see all configuration settings, you can go here. Go to configuration section. You will see all the configuration settings they will give here. You see, they will give a simple command. The command says Webpack init. If you run this command, then it will guide you step by step. It will say that, tell me which file you want to start. Tell me which folder you want to use for HTML. Tell me which folder you want to use for JS. Tell me which folder you want to use for images. Everything it will ask like question answers. And you answer all these, finally, everything is generated for you. That means you don't need to write manually. But this requires knowledge of every concept, right? So you can copy the settings and you can define the settings. You can see these are all options. You see all questions it will ask. It is going to ask all these questions and you need to answer them. That for that you have to just run the command. What is it? Webpack init. Instead of that, you need to set up manually. Manually means I will show you some steps. How do we do manually? I will show you some steps. Okay. These are the steps we do manually. First step, actually. So in the first step, what you have to do is you have to import path. After importing path, we have to use entry file. Entry file means application starts with which file? Application starts with which file? Our application starts with index.js. And output indicates after you built, finally when you are publishing, where the all code must be copied. In one file, entire code will be copied. That file is main.js. You know, main is called entry point. In computer programming, main is called entry point of program, main method. In any programming, main method is entry point. That means it indicates that it is going to copy all the code into which location? Main. And remember, build indicates, I already showed you, if you are publishing, which folder you have to keep? Dist. You are building application, all the resources must be kept in which folder? Build. That means all the final files are kept in this build. After that, you need to go to package JSON. In the package JSON, you have to put scripts build as Webpack. Then you have to go to this plugins. You have to install this plugin, import the plugin and use this plugin for your project. What this plugin will do, it will use your index page as startup page. That means your index.js will start. It will pick up which file? Index.html, and it will load index.html. So you need to configure the path for both index.js and you need to configure for index.html. This path.join is a Node.js command. It is a Node.js command. It is server-side programming actually. That is the command which goes. These are all settings we need to define one by one. I will give you a final code here. This is the final code you need to keep in your settings. I will show you this code. So you need to import these libraries and you need to keep these settings. I will explain those settings. These are taken from official website. These you don't need to write. I told you, you can copy from this and you can paste and you make changes according to requirement, or you better run this command Webpack init. A series of questions it will ask. Now answer these questions, it will generate it, right? So these are the concepts we are importing. These are all the configurations we need to define. What is the purpose of path? Actually, generally in our JavaScript based modules, we use import method for importing any module. In Node.js, we use the require method to import any module. What is require method is doing? It is importing a module called path. Path is a module. This path module allows you to access the files and use the files. And why we need HTML Webpack plugin? You need this plugin in order to access HTML files and load them. So see the first setting. In the first setting, export module exports entry point. Entry point indicates which file to start with. Which file to start with? Index.js. It is present in which folder? Index.js is present in which folder? SRC. It is in SRC folder. Output. Output means when you finally publish this file, all the code will be kept in which folder? Main. Main. And in which actually which file? Main. In which folder? Build. It will create a folder called build. Into that folder, it will store all this. After configuring that, plugins, which plugin to use? HTML Webpack plugin. What it have to do? It should collect the current root directory. In the root directory, there is a public folder. In that public folder, it have to collect a file called index.html. That means what this is going to do? It is going to start your HTML page. That means which page will be in startup. So if anybody asks like, is mandatory that index.html should be startup? Can I put any another page as startup? Some login or some home, any another page? You can. That depends on what you configure in this HTML Webpack plugin. In HTML Webpack plugin, which HTML page you mentioned, that page will be used as startup. Is it compulsory that your application should start with index.js? Not necessary. You can start with any file. That configuration goes in which location? It is defined in entry. In entry, you have to tell which is the JS file. And in the plugin, you have to tell which is the HTML. And development server settings indicates that while building a project, that means it is going to use the build folder and port number, which port number it is. By default, which port number? 3000. If you want, you can change. Suppose I am giving 8080. That means our React application will be working on which port number? When you give like this, what is the port number it will be using? http://localhost, it will be 8080. Our application will be running on that particular port number, right? You can set. Another important rules. Rules indicates what are the dynamic files extension. Is it TS file? Is it JS file? Is it JSX file? Is it TSX file? Which file extension? What are the dynamic files you are using for your programs? For components, for services, for every type of library, what is the file extension that you have to define in rules? What is the file extension? .js. .js. I hope you know this indicates dot, regular expression. Dot, and this is JS. This indicates ends, ends with. Dollar indicates ends. It's a regular expression. This regular expression indicates that it is going to use .js files for compiling and processing. Who will compile and process? It is used by whom? Babel loader. Why exclude node modules? Node modules are excluded because in node modules, whatever libraries are there, they need not to load at build time. Because at build time, node modules will load, then it will take a lot of time for loading. We are saying that exclude node modules, don't compile them. That means whatever JavaScript files are present in node modules, they are not compiled. Only the files which are present in SRC folder, they will be compiled. That is what you are mentioning in the rules. That means in the rules, you are saying that don't compile all JavaScript files, exclude the JavaScript files which are kept inside node modules. You compile only the files which are present in which folder? SRC. That is the configuration. See the extensions, what we need to define. That means extension indicates all with extension what? .js. This depends on which technology you are using. This is all the configuration you need to define. So this is for React. For different technologies, some configurations will be changing, but settings are same. Settings are same, path will be changing. Sometimes if you are using Angular, their static resources are kept in a folder called assets. Their dynamic files and other files are kept in a folder called app. That depends on technology, it changes. But settings are same, only the values, path references will be changing depending on the project environment. These all you need to configure in this webpack config.js. I hope these are very much understandable, because you need to know what is entry, what is output. You need to know what are the plugins and why you need a development server, and what are the files to be compiled, what type of files to be compiled with extension. These are all the configuration settings. Now this is not enough. You need to configure compiler also. You need to configure compiler. Which compiler we are using? Babel. There is Babel js.io. This is Babel. Now here you go to the documentation. In the documentation, so configuration reference will be there. Configuration options will be there. Configuration files, configuration options will be there. What are the configuration settings you have to define? It will display. These are all the configuration settings you have to write in Babel. For different libraries, different approach will be there. These are the configuration files. You can see these are the configuration files. If you are using Babel configuration files, they can have the extension. So .json, .js, .cjs. Now, very important is in the package JSON, you can put Babel, then you can add configuration in this file. That means your own configuration file you can add. An empty configuration file, it will be .babel rc. That means what you have to do is you need to add a new file .babel rc. That is the Babel configuration file. In Babel configuration file, you have to tell which library compiler have to use. That settings also you have to capture. This is the Babel RC settings you have to do. These are the libraries we need to do. These are the libraries we need to configure. This is a Babel configuration settings. In that, we will say that what is the library to be loaded. The library to be loaded, preset environment library. Another one is Babel React. These are the libraries to be loaded. This is configured for Babel. So Babel is the compiler. Babel have to use React. Remember, Babel can use React, can use Angular, can use Vue, can use different. For every environment, there is a different library. You have to import that. That requires these all library settings to handle. Means you need to go to Babel configuration. You need to read the settings, what are required for React, what are required for Vue, what are required for Angular, everything they will provide here. It's a very huge environment. Everything they will provide here. I picked up only what is needed for our project. What is needed for our project. Okay. Now this is not enough. Now what you have to do is you have to configure package JSON also. That means in the package JSON, already these all configurations are there. In the package JSON, all these configurations are there. Now here you need to add these scripts. and this main, this is important. Make sure that these are generated. That means how to build. So we have to use Webpack. Webpack is for production, and for development, what we have to use Webpack serve. So you have to use start, build, test. These are the commands. Do you know how to run these commands? Actually, you have to run the commands npm run test. We have to use npm run build. We have to use npm run start. These are the commands. That means now what it is going to do is when you run this, this is going to execute this one. It is going to execute this one. That means it is running the Webpack and it will compile the Webpack and it will start. These settings are required to be defined in package JSON. That means Webpack configuration file. What is that file name? Webpack.config.what.js. In this file, I will copy this code. Okay. And one more thing we have to do is create a Babel config file. Babel config file. What is the Babel config file name? Babel RC. Babel RC. In this is the setting you need to define. Babel RC. Okay. And one more, you have to go to package.json. In package.json, you need to add these settings. Once we will check in the package.json file, where is scripts? In the scripts, there is only test. Here we need to add these two. One is build, another one start. One is for building, another one for start. So once you define this, now it is ready. That means your application is ready. You need to configure. But you know, rest of React code is same. What is your React code? That means environment setup is ready. So environment setup is ready. So you check whether environment is perfectly working or not. You can use npm run start. I am using npm run start, right? When I am using npm run start, it is starting React Webpack development server. It is running and Webpack compiled successfully. So there is no error in your Webpack. There are no errors in your Webpack. It is successful. And it is working fine. And you can see it is currently running. Project is running at this port number. Project is running at this port number, but your project don't have any startup screens. Anything is not designed. This is a React application, right? So I will stop this once, Control C. It is saying, are you sure you want to shut down the Webpack? Yes. And it is going to shut down the Webpack. Okay, Webpack is running fine. Now you know how to set up your general React environment. Tell me how to set up the general React environment. In index.html, there will be a div. This div will have an ID called what? Root. And we put a no script. This is a tradition. In the no script, we will say that please enable JavaScript, because React will not work if JavaScript is disabled in the browser. No script is to tell the clients that in your computer, in your browser, JavaScript is not enabled. Please enable. If JavaScript is not enabled, this message will come. Okay. Now, next step. Next, what we have to do? Go to index. Okay. We will go to src folder. In src folder, we will add a new file. We will add a new file called app.component.js. You know app component, how to add. That means we will keep export function. What is it? App component. App component will return. It will return a simple div. And here we will put an heading, right? Welcome to React. So then here application created with webpack, that is what we are doing. Now this you need in index.js. You know, in index.js what we have to do, you need to import the files. What are the files you have to import? So you need to import, one is what, React. From React, what else? You have to import React DOM. You have to import which one? React DOM, not React DOM. Actually what you need, React is enough. You have to import actually create router from React client. Yeah, from which one? React. So client library, there will be a option called create root. What is it? Create root is the library we need. This is the library because we have, this is from new version. Early version we don't need that. Why we need this in the new version? I told you already. In the new version, why you need this? Because new version from React, I showed you two versions if you remembered. React 17 below versions, how they render, right? And React new version. So you need this one. What is it? The library. What is the library? React to website, already it is there. What is the file we have to do? A library. Where is that? Index.js. Installation already we done. CDN links already we have. Here they have given a, where is it? This is create router. This is what the new technique I already told you. We need which one? Create root. We need to import this create root. This is create root is the library. So this is from a new concept. We have to do that. That means what we have to do here, we need to define. So this library, we need to create a constant. What is the constant? It is root is equal to what? Create root. In create root, so which element we have to create? Document dot get element by id. What is the element? Root. That is the option. Then root have to use a method. What is the method? Render. Render indicates which one to render. Which one to render? It should render import app component. We have to use app component from which location? Dot slash app component. We have to render this component. What is that app component we need to define? This is what you need to do. Already this basic process we know. That is from new version. Actually in old version what we do? Directly we access the root element and we use render DOM method. We will use render DOM method. Here we have to create a root element, and through the root element we need to access and use. That means into the container what you want to render. That is the process you need to follow. This is what you need to do in the index.js. In this index.js we have to create and we have to add. Directly we are adding that create root from React DOM client. It is there in React DOM client, right? This is from this location. Okay, now your index page is ready, component also ready. Let's start. Compile. What we have to compile? npm run start. So it is successfully running and everything is ready. And let's open the browser. What is it? HTTP localhost. What is the port number? 8080. It should get that. It's working fine. So we created a complete React application with end-to-end integration. And here in index.html, in this index.html, you can see there is no file linked. No HTML file is, no JavaScript file is linked, but it is using index.js. How it is using index.js? It is using index.js with the configuration settings. In the configuration, you mentioned so which file to start with, and you mentioned which file to use for dynamic resource. When this will be used when you build the solution. When you build the solution for final we call as publishing, then it will create a folder called build. Into that folder, it will keep the content. It will keep the content. That means actually I will stop this. This is how it is working. I will stop this. Yes, and I will use npm run build. Actually, we use the command npm run build. That means now it goes to production mode. In the production mode, what it will do is it will generate a build folder, you see. And this build folder is used for publishing our project into live environment. This is for production. That means it will create a build folder. In that build folder, it will copy everything. See index.html and what is the startup? main.js that we have mentioned in configuration. That means this is the folder used for publishing your project live. If you want to publish your project live, then you have to use this build folder. That means now build folder is ready for production. Production means you can deploy on cloud servers. AWS, Azure, Firebase, GitHub pages. You can use any cloud account. By using any cloud account, you can publish your application. Deployment, we call that as deployment. Deployment, currently where it is deployed? Currently it is deployed on local server. Currently it is deployed on local server. We have to deploy on cloud. For that, you need to create a cloud account. You need to create a website on cloud, and you can publish this on cloud, so that your application is ready to work on cloud. For that, what you have to do, you can use any cloud accounts. I will show you one cloud account using Firebase. Firebase is a cloud. It is Google Cloud. We can use this Firebase as Google Cloud, and we can create a project here, and we can publish our project live here now. That means our project will go live. For that, we have to install some cloud related tools. If you are using Firebase, you need Firebase tools, GitHub tools, or Azure tools, AWS tools. For every purpose, there is a separate library you have to install. And once you do that, now your project is ready to use. So I will use a different cloud account, because in my cloud account, there are already so many projects. For example, I am adding a project here. So that means you see it is saying that you have already reached so many and you cannot create a project now, because already I have so many projects. I will create a separate account. There I will show you. That means how to publish our application live. How to make the application live. That we will see in tomorrow's session. Right, tomorrow we will discuss about two concepts, testing and deployment. Testing means how we test our React projects. That means testing is nothing but verifying whether the client developer logic is matching the client requirements. If developer logic is matching the client requirement, test pass. Otherwise, test fails. So test pass or test fail. For that, we need various testing tools. People use different types of testing tools with React. I will show you a simple testing environment, how to test and how to deploy. Deploy means making it live so that you can start using on live environment, right? That we'll see tomorrow, right? This entire process I will upload, you go through that. In package JSON, this is the code in package JSON file. And one more is, so I need to copy here. This is index.js code. This is index.js code. Yeah, this is index.js code. I will copy that here. This is index.js. And we have index.html. One more, we created a app component also, app component.js, and one more is index.html. Here we just kept this root folder, index.html. This is the complete process of creating a React application from scratch, right? And for experienced people, these questions are very much asked. Means if you are showing experience, you can expect questions from Webpack. That means where to set the configuration, what are the libraries required, and how to change the startup file. How do we set up any HTML file as startup instead of index? How to set the port numbers, how to set the commands for building the application, how to change the build folder. Build folder means sometimes people use dist as folder for production. So these are all the general questions for experienced people. For freshers, very rarely they ask about Webpack. Webpack is not for freshers, right? That is too much to ask about Webpack for fresher, because he need to have server side configuration knowledge. He need to have knowledge on server scripts like Node.js. For fresher, it is too much to ask about Webpack. We have never seen much asked on Webpack related for freshers. But for experience, they will ask compulsory. There are so many questions to ask. So you need to know some details about that. Okay. Then tomorrow we will see how we can deploy. Deployment and testing. These two things we will discuss in the next session. Okay. Right.